The bases dropped in Atlanta, Georgia, December 19th, the Wall Pass Wednesday edition of Soccer Down Here. I think we are all on the disabled list in one way or another, so if things go completely sideways today, sorry, there's not much we can do. I have half a voice. John has half a lung. Jarrett, I don't know. Jarrett, are you okay? Are you the most healthy out of the bunch?
I think so.
I feel great.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
you win.
But I have a sick kid, so.
So it's coming. You're going to get it soon.
We'll see.
That's basically what it is. So, yeah, the way I feel is how you'll feel in about a week. So, yeah, I don't recommend it. It's not fun. It's no good. But we'll do our best. We will try to fight through it. Jarrett will have all of your hot takes today since he is feeling quite chipper. Lots of stuff. I mean, it's silly season raging on and all kinds of craziness with that. Big trade yesterday around the league, and it's an odd one just because of the way everything went down, but I think it actually makes a lot of sense when you kind of look into it a little bit beyond the surface. So New England traded Kellen Rowe to Colorado for Edgar Castillo. Then Colorado flipped Rowe plus $200,000 in GAM, $100,000 in TAM to Kansas City for Diego Rubio. You look at that and you're like, man, what's Colorado doing? I don't know about the GAM and TAM. I'm just going to put that down to Peter Vermees being a master strategist and negotiator. But I don't think Colorado was going to get Edgar Castillo back. And he was really the only appealing piece from the Colorado Rapids in 2018. So getting him as your left back in New England is a good move. I really like New England getting Castillo. I think that's a smart move for them. Kellen Rowe just never really fit into Brad Friedel's system. He didn't really know what to do with him. Rowe is kind of a player without a position at this point. So he wasn't going to fit with the Revs. The Revs get their left back, a big upgrade from Gabriel Somi. So they're in good shape. Then Kansas City gets Kellen Rowe, and Kansas City values players in possession. Kellen Rowe is a very technical player. He could play as a number 10. He could play out wide on the left. He has a few different options for you. I really like his creativity. I think he fits into Kansas City's system really, really well. And they get that allocation money. And Colorado, who wasn't going to get Castillo anyway and wasn't going to get anything out of this, they get Diego Rubio, who is a player that I think has some potential. I mean, Rubio was kind of fits and starts with Kansas City and never truly made a starting spot his own on a regular basis, but he had very good moments. And Colorado, honestly, needs all the help they can get in the attacking end. So, Jarrett, what do you think? I mean, did anybody truly dominate this trade, or is it one where everybody kind of benefited in some way?
Yeah, I think it's one where everyone kind of benefited, and I wish more teams would do this, where you have a situation where, hey, we're going to lose this guy. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to trade him. We're going to get an asset, and it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be a little bit of something better than a whole lot of nothing, and that little bit of something could improve beyond that, and you'll be even better. So I like that Colorado did this. I wish more teams would make peace with the fact that, hey, so-and-so might be gone, and it might not be. I think we talked about it. Don't let a guy leave on a free transfer, to go to Europe maybe or to South America, wherever it may be. Well, that applies in the league too. And I think it's more important in the league where you can say, well, this guy might leave after next year. And if we're not sure we can sign him, we need to go get a cost control asset. I wish more teams would make peace with that instead of just trying to play it out to the last minute and hoping for the best. Be proactive.
Yeah, it's a smart one from Colorado because, they had a loan with Castillo from Monterrey, and when they did their end-of-the-season roster announcements, they said, I'm trying to find the exact language, the club's negotiating with Monterrey to keep Edgar Castillo after deciding not to exercise the option to purchase his contract. So they had decided, I guess that number was too much. They weren't going to be able to pull it off, but they had an asset. And instead of just saying, well, no, we're not going to do the purchase and buy, they were able to flip that and get Diego Rubio out of it. The allocation money seems a little weird. I don't know why they needed to go Kellen Rowe plus allocation money to get Rubio. That seems a little strange. maybe a little bit of a overpay, but they weren't going to get anything because it didn't look like Castillo was coming back. Who do you think got the most out of this, John?
Kansas City with body plus AM. And, I mean, I know Castillo going is good for New England. Colorado getting Rubio is good. I just want to know who's going to be able to feed Diego Rubio. That's the larger question for me. Having him there is great. Who's going to get it to him and who's going to be there to help him create? So I guess by default for me, it's Kansas City because you're getting Kellen Rowe and you're getting allocation money that you can turn into other assets.
I actually disagree, and I think I'm in the minority here from most of the experts around the country. I think New England got the best out of this. I think left back was a position that was killing them. And you get Castillo, you get this back line that is now solid, could be anyway. I think this is the type of move that it's not as sexy as Rowe and allocation money, but I think New England might get the most impact from the move. I think they might improve the most from getting Edgar Castillo. He's got to replicate his form from 2018, and we'll have to see if he can do that. We'll have to see what else New England does around him. But I think they got a piece that they sorely needed. Kansas City, upgraded with a nice piece, and they get some allocation money. Colorado got a piece they needed, definitely. But there are questions about how effective can Rubio be without as much talent around him. I think New England really won this in some ways. I think everybody won parts of it, but Castillo in New England is a really good move. And if you're in the Eastern Conference, you do have to worry a little bit about New England and what they're going to do because they started out the season pretty well last year, and then it all fell apart. Brad Friedel, I would expect, learned quite a few things in season one as a manager. It looks like New England is starting to put some things together. They're not sitting back and being very cheap. They're not doing these things anymore. It looks like they're starting to invest in different ways. So watch out for the Revs. I'm intrigued about the Revolution going into 2019.
Yeah, so am I. They're I think what you hit on there was, for me, is Friedel. How does he bounce back?
Yeah.
How does he adjust for 2019? Because I think there was some stubbornness in the way he went about things in 2018, but it seemed like even though the end of the year didn't stabilize maybe the way you would want it to if you're New England, I think he got better and got a little more accommodating to circumstances, if that makes sense. Like, he got a little easier going about stuff, and that's what you're going to need, especially in the long haul, and especially coming up now where you've got more schedule compression. You're gonna need more of those assets and guys who can play. So I think Brad Friedel can be solid in this league. I'm not 100% sold yet, but I am more sold than I was in the summer of this year.
Yeah, I think Friedel, kind of had a crash course. I mean, he had a little bit of experience here and there, but he hadn't been in this situation running a team, and the ups and downs of it probably took their toll on him a little bit. Smart guy, and he's been around a lot of very good managers. I mean, remember, he spent the end of his career with Mauricio Pochettino at Spurs. He was constantly learning from Pochettino. He picked up a lot from him. So he's going to be able to implement that more and more and more now that he's gaining in experience and gaining in confidence. And getting a left back who is a national team level left back, that's a pretty nice pickup. So I like it for New England. I'm curious to see what else they can do if they're going to get into this playoff race in the Eastern Conference. Let's get into the Michael Parkhurst tweet from Taylor Twellman. Twellman said that Atlanta asked Parkhurst to take a pay cut. Said that Toronto, Chicago, and NYC are interested. Now, a couple things you have to keep in mind here. The way free agency in Major League Soccer works, if he gets through without any moves, and this is why you're starting to see some trades happen and deals happen before you get through this reentry draft and before free agency completely opens up. If he's still rights held by Atlanta. Actually, no, sorry. He would be a free agent at the end of the reentry draft. If he becomes a true free agent, The most he can get, the max contract he can get, is $391,000 a year. There's a cap on how much of a raise you can get as a free agent, and that would be from anybody. That's Atlanta, that's Toronto, that's Chicago, that's NYC. Then he's just picking where he goes. If somebody would pay him more right now than that, they're going to have to work out essentially a sign and trade with Atlanta United to get his rights, and Atlanta would be able to get something in return. I'm fascinated to see what happens over the next couple of days because of this. It's a really tough spot if you're Atlanta United with Miles Robinson, with Franco Escobar, with Julian Gressel, who has shown what he can do on the right side of the back line. It's a difficult spot to pony up a lot of money for Michael Parkhurst at his age. It is. And you have to, at some point, separate the sentimentality of the situation from the long-term planning of the situation. For him, this is probably his last contract, you would expect. And does he want to go try to get a lot of money at this point from one of these teams, and they have to work out a deal with Atlanta? Or does he want to stay where he's been the last 2 years and, by all accounts, been very happy captaining this team? There will be changes next year. So if you're thinking about leaving, this might be that time that, what, I'm good. I'm going to go. I'm going to try to make more money elsewhere, and we'll see what happens. Because that max contract, if Atlanta asks him to take a pay cut, it sounds like Atlanta's not going to offer him $391,000 a year as a free agent. Toronto, Chicago, or NYC might. But they also have the opportunity to try to get his rights ahead of his free agency if they want to make a deal before that. So it's a tricky situation, partially due to MLS rules and structure. But, Jarrett, let's start with you. What's your thoughts on Twellman's tweet that Atlanta asked Parkhurst to take a pay cut, and what do you think the likelihood of him being back is?
I expected them to ask him to take a pay cut. You still got guys potentially up for, raises coming soon. And you're going to have to try and balance things out. And you got plenty of TAM. You just picked up some more. You can go into the discretionary if you need to, but you still want to be reasonable. Just because you have the money doesn't mean you have to throw it all around.
But one thing on TAM, and this has been spread around in a lot of different ways, and I want to make this clear.
I know he's not a TAM.
Right. And that's something some people haven't gotten at, because you can't use TAM on Parkhurst at the contract he's at now or that max free agent contract. He has to be making more than $500,000, whatever the max contract is, to be able to use TAM to buy it down. So I don't think TAM's going to play into him. It's going to be a smaller number of players that you could use it for. But people have said, why don't you just use TAM? You can't in terms of Parkhurst. And you're not going to sign him to a $500,000 plus deal.
No, and here's the thing: just just because you have the money, you might have plenty of money, and be in an Atlanta situation where you can throw around money for spending on transfers, and spending money on players in general, and not just terms of transfers, but contracts. Just because you have it doesn't mean you need to. You have to spend it irresponsibly. They're going to be, fiscally responsible, not just this year, but going forward. So I'm sure they'll offer him something. It may not be at the ceiling. I think about it at this point. It's just what Parkhurst wants. And what he's going to be 35 going into this season. I'd love Parkhurst to stay here, in any role. Whether that's staying, whether that's part as a rotational player. But if he decides this might be my last shot, and one of those teams wants to offer me, a multi-year deal at 35 years old, and it could be your last multi-year contract with a little bit of security and some money on it, I wouldn't blame him for chasing it in the least.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. If he can get a big money contract somewhere, I think he has to take it. And I don't think Atlanta can give that to him. Not where they are right now in their development. We've talked about pathways and pipelines and depth charts quite a bit. And this is something Atlanta takes very seriously. That's why Greg Garza was traded when he was, because it cleared up room for Bello, Hernandez, Ambrose, all to compete for that left back spot. you had to start clearing room for Bello to play. So now you're in a situation where you have Miles Robinson, who showed that he's an MLS level player. I'm very comfortable in saying that now. You also have Leandro Gonzalez-Perez, who is showing that he is a captain type of player. You also have Franco Escobar, who you've got to figure out what you're going to do between Escobar, Robinson, Gonzalez-Perez, Gressel, between the right back, right wing back, center back situation. So it's not easy, and it's also not easy. I think some people have thought, well, just sign Parkhurst and then he can be a bench option, or Robinson can still be a bench option. You can't always do that. I don't think Parkhurst wants to sit on the bench at this point in his career, not after the year he had. I don't think Robinson wants to continue sitting on the bench. You have to look ahead, and you have to start planning ahead. And sometimes you can't sign starters for bench spots. And that's something that I think Atlanta's going to be in. If they let Parkhurst go and they turn the keys over to LGP and Robinson and Escobar, depending on if they play 4 in the back or 3 center backs and a line of 5, depending on what they do, they can go get a veteran depth piece or a young depth piece. Or they could sign Kendall Edwards, who that wouldn't surprise me a bit. And he rotates between Atlanta United and ATL UTD too. There's a lot of different options here. So I know this is one of those that it's like, man, now the reality of pro sports is starting to hit. But that is the fact. That's what happens at this point. You have to make decisions based off what's coming as opposed to sentiment. Because we've seen teams in all different sports wreck their current existence because they sign guys out of sentimentality, and you just can't do it. John, I want to get your thoughts after the break. We'll get into the Wall Pass Wednesday and the thoughts of the peeps out there as well. I'm sure there are lots of Michael Parkhurst thoughts from the listeners out on Twitter. Tweet at us at @SoccerDownHere. Use the Wall Pass Wednesday hashtag. We'll be right back.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, Wall Pass Wednesday edition. We might survive the show. I feel like my voice is okay, somewhat. I do have the levels cranked up because I'm not able to speak very loudly. And I've only had to mute myself and cough my lungs out a couple times. So maybe I'll survive. I don't know. I make no guarantees. If I disappear for a while, that's why. But we're talking silly season. We're talking trades. We're talking free agents. We're talking Atlanta United center back depth and captain potentially replacement. with Michael Parkhurst and the rumors from Taylor Twellman about interest in Michael Parkhurst from other teams in the league, and Atlanta asked him to take a pay cut after last season. One other thing before, John, I get your take on this. Paul Tenorio added in a nice little nugget about Bastian Schweinsteiger being a big fan of Michael Parkhurst's game. I thought that was pretty intriguing. I also thought if you try to play Schweinsteiger and Parkhurst together at center back, you're going to get killed with speed. I don't think that's a good plan at all unless you're going to play 3 center backs. So, and then you better have somebody who can run. Or your outside backs are going to have to stay home because they're going to have to cover for your 2 very good soccer-playing center backs who are not fleet of foot. So, we'll see. We'll see. That would be a very interesting move for Chicago. What do you think, John? I mean, did any of this surprise you when Twellman dropped his Twellman bomba yesterday?
No, the only thing missing was the siren. But to me, once
Taylor
again,
goes siren.
Well, I think that if you did "What Are We Doing" and you just looped it, that would be his siren.
That's true.
But no, for me, this is once again the whole notion of putting sentimentality aside. This is big boy pants kind of stuff, and understanding that things change, things will change, and if you want to continue to grow and evolve with everything that you have with ATOUTD2 and the academy and all of this promise that you have that is gaining experience and gaining years so as not to stunt that growth, which is what you don't want to do for a double negative at 22 minutes in. You have to make these kind of progressionary moves, and this is just part of the deal. This is part of growing up, kids, and not a shock at all. And if someone wants to give Michael Parkhurst that one big deal for his last contract, you tip your hat, you sit there and you say, love you, Cap, go for it, max it out, and bear you no ill will at all, bottom line.
Yeah, this is going to be fascinating to see how things evolve. A couple of things out there that I've read about, well, you have to have somebody who can balance LGP because he goes forward all the time. With a different manager, we don't know what the expectations are going to be for your center backs. With a different pairing, we don't know if LGP is going to go forward as much either. So I think it's a little hard to compare how people have played previously to how they're going to play under a new manager and potentially a somewhat new system. So this is a chance in some ways to give a clean slate to that new manager and be able to pick the captain that they want to work with and start fresh. That's not all that uncommon, to be honest, about this type of situation. What do we have on the Twitters, John, on a Wall Pass Wednesday?
Let's go back a step. When this stuff broke with Parkey yesterday, Tafka TLC says, and this is a 2-step, I'm late to the Parkey news, but here's my thought. Let's say Parkey wants $325 over the next 2 years, identical contract. Offer to pay him $550 in year 1, $100 in year 2. Then cap space is scarce. GAM is almost as scarce, but TAM is far more available, and that's step 1 of his thought.
This is something that we always try to do when you're trying to bend MLS rules. I don't know if you can do that. I think they understand that that's something that teams would try to do to get around the rules and use TAM in certain spots and not have to use it. I'm not 100% sure that's possible. I also don't know if you're going to be able to pull that off because you have to remember, and this is something I think we always forget in these situations, when you start throwing money like that around, if you are Franco Escobar and you see that, okay, Michael Parkhurst is now making $550,000 for 2019, where's my cut? Where's my pay raise? Anybody else in the team who is making less than that would be like, well, wait a minute. Hello, I'm over here. So that's something you have to be very careful about. You have to be careful about not upsetting the overall collective because of one player, and especially one player who's at 35 years old and has had issues at times with injuries. They've been very minor. I think Atlanta's been pretty lucky in that regard, but he has had some issues with that. I think it is fair to say that potentially he's slowed down a little bit from day 1, 2017 to final day 2018, which is completely normal. He's probably gotten smarter and been able to adjust better and been able to cover that up more. But you have to look at what's coming down the pipeline, though. And you have to look at a Miles Robinson going into year 3. I really think it's about time to turn it over so Robinson plays a good bit. And I think it's about time for LGP to be your captain, because don't forget, LGP has also talked about, hey, if the timing's right, I'd be interested in going to Europe. It wouldn't be a bad thing to be able to put more on him, give him the captain's armband, potentially give him more money, and make him a centerpiece for a long time. So it's not easy to do something like that where it's $550,000 one year, $100,000 the next year. I don't know if you can pull that off, to be honest.
Step 2 said from Tafka was that the structure allows Parker to be paid what he deserves, but allows you to use far more available TAM to buy him down to whatever cap hit you want. Makes him insanely good value depth piece in salary cap terms next year, but it does not address what you just talked about, where everybody sits there and looks at his year 1 number and says, well, hey, where's my cut?
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if you can pull that kind of deal off, to be perfectly honest, because you would be giving Parkhurst almost double what he made this past year in year 1, and then basically a bargain basement rate in year 2. I don't know. I don't think you need to do it, honestly. As much as you'd love to see Parkhurst back, if he's able to make more money elsewhere, I think you have to let him go. I don't think you need to run risks of unbalancing your cap and TAM use and angering your other players on the roster to try to finesse it so he's back. See, Gwen's fired up about it too.
John P. Jared says, I like it for Parky's sake, but I'd rather us invest now in a 5-year starter/leader. Parky was always an expansion team plug who absolutely crushed it. Love him, but now we are 1 or 2 high-quality defensive pieces from where we need to be for a longer term and rotation, in my opinion.
And this is, look, sentimental feelings and emotion kind of has to be cut out of it sometimes. And it's not just for the team, but for the player as well. Of, you got to take care of yourself. You're the player. If you're the team, you got to take care of your team now and in the future. You don't want to hamstring yourself. It doesn't happen as much in soccer as it does in, say, baseball or football, where, you sign a guy to a contract and go, oh, that's going to hurt down the road. You don't have to do that. And, you just, at some point, I think it's Occam's razor of, and don't try so hard to find the creative way. Just go, we have a limit here. If that works for you, great. If it doesn't, good luck, because somebody will pay you more. I don't think you have to overcomplicate it.
Then Tafka comes back and says, I understand you can't get sentimental, but we're very thin at that. Center back in Parky's contract is pretty reasonable, even if he maxed out his free agency raise.
But this is what we always do in these situations. Michael Parkhurst might not want to be a depth piece. Miles Robinson is getting past the point of being a depth piece. You got to make some decisions here at some point. You can't just keep kicking the can down the road. That's what I keep coming back to. You can't just sign guys because you might be able to fit them under a cap. They might not want the role that you're offering. Parkhurst might not want to take a pay cut to be a rotation center back, because it sounds like there's 3 other teams that would play him as a starter. You want to play. So, yes, we're thin at center back. You can also go sign homegrowns. You can also go sign other veterans. There are plenty of center backs to be had. So that's a false narrative to me, in that you have to sign Parkhurst because you're thin at center back. Let's dig into it, really. Your center back options. This past year, you had Parkhurst, you had LGP. When you went to 3, you had Larinowitz. You also had Escobar, who played as the third center back. You had Robinson. That's 5. Jeff Larinowitz is probably not going to play much in the midfield in 2019 because Eric Remedi has made that spot his own. And Remedi, Nagby, maybe P.T. Martinez, maybe Miguel Almiron, maybe whoever, Ezequiel Barco. Jeff Larentowicz is probably going to be a center back going forward. But you had 5 center backs for 2 or 3 spots last year. That's not as thin as you think.
And then Tafka says they couldn't possibly find a quality replacement on the international market or domestically for that amount of money.
Yes, you could. That absolutely you could. There are a ton of center backs in Argentina that you don't know anything about that you could get for Eric Remedi kind of money that could absolutely come in here and be quality players. I disagree with that completely. And I don't think you even necessarily need to, because I could see a scenario where the change in 2019 is Larentowicz becomes a full-time center back, Parkhurst leaves, Miles Robinson gets more playing time. There you go.
Rachel Affleck comes in and says, look, I like Parky as much as anyone, but we have a ton of options to replace him and also move to LGP as captain. He definitely is starting to show wear and tear. Move Escobar to center back, Gressel back outside. And then Rachel has another question, which is a point 2. Can Parky really deal with a compressed hectic schedule in 2019?
That's a good question. That's definitely something, Jarrett, that you have to consider in all this.
It is. I mean, it's a matter of, we talked about it. It's wear and tear, and it is, does this guy want to be a depth piece? If he doesn't want to be a depth piece, then, he's got choices. If he wants to be a depth piece, I think he can stay here and be a depth piece. But you're going to have to rotate guys anyway. Even the young guys are going to have to be rotated this year because you've got a compressed schedule. You've got CONCACAF Champions League where you do want to make a deep run. And then you also have U.S. Open Cup. Man, it's going to be busy. And you're going to lose Ezequiel Barco for a bit.
You're blending people.
I know. I've blended an attacking player with a fast right winger. You're already going to lose people to, and Bello as well, to international duty at times. You're going to have to do this anyway. Does he want to be that guy? How does what role does he want in 2019? Does it fit with what Atlanta is going to require of him? I don't know. I know the twos are going to be really important this year because you're going to need guys who can come up and get the job done, because you're going to be rotating guys this year. You're not going to have a choice. Everyone's going to drop dead if you don't.
Yeah, you're going to have to rotate, and you're going to have to continue to look ahead. And I don't know if a 2-year deal for Michael Parkhurst makes a lot of sense at this point, especially a lucrative 2-year deal if you're Atlanta United, not with Miles Robinson waiting in the wings. And also Kendall Edwards and possibly George Campbell waiting in the wings. And maybe Jarrett's favorite center back at Rutgers, Bryce Washington. Another one to keep in mind. You've got options as homegrown center backs that you have to look at as well. You're okay. And I know, again, this is the usual thing that happens at this stage is you have players that you're emotionally attached to, that contracts are up, and you have to make tough decisions. I don't think you're going to be hurt either way. If you can find a number and keep Parkhurst here and he's open to more rotation, cool. But it sounds like, from Taylor Twellman's tweet, and Taylor usually doesn't throw these things out there willy-nilly, that there are at least 3 other teams who are interested in him, probably at more money than Atlanta's offering. And that's tough for Parkhurst to turn down because it's probably the last contract of his career. You got to make what you can make.
Mm-hmm. Get that money while you can. Good on him for getting that money. Yeah, I'll still cape for Bryce Washington if for no other reason. I want to know and I want to see if he takes that developmental step in terms of marshaling the back line and not just being a physical monster, because that part he's got down pat. I want to see when he gets done at Rutgers or whenever his time is up or whenever they decide to bring him in, if he's taken that step to being to being that guy who can also be that really cerebral player who can control the back line and communicate well. So that was the
jump
test.
you started to see from Miles Robinson in 2018 that we saw specifically with the twos.
Thanks, Scott Donnelly.
Yeah,
seriously,
I mean,
thank you.
No, I talked about it with Scott. I mean, it was not by accident to play Miles as the center of the 3 center backs and organize the back line with veterans around him with more experience. Miles was there to to get that opportunity to learn and take that responsibility, and he did. That was absolutely by design. So you're okay. You're okay. I mean, the Jeff Larentowicz factor is big here too, because I don't see him playing significant minutes as a 6 in 2019. I don't. I think Remedi has made that spot his own. I think Larentowicz is going to be the replacement for Parkhurst at center back if this happens. And it might be rotation. He might be a little bit of a utility guy, sometimes in midfield, sometimes as a third center back, sometimes starting at center back. But I think you have a built-in replacement. And that's why you can't overpay here. Let's take a quick break. Let's come back. More Wall Pass Wednesday. Tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. We'll get into that after the break.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here. December 19th, Wall Pass Wednesday edition. Talking Michael Parkhurst, talking trades and MLS, all kinds of stuff as the silly season ramps up. Before we go back into the timeline, John, a couple rumors out there to keep an eye on today. And these are big ones. Orlando. Record in Mexico, one of the leading sports papers, Carlos Ponce, has reported that Yoshi Yotun will be headed to Cruz Azul, and the deal was finalized last night. Cruz Azul came up short in the final in Mexico, and they are reloading in a big way with Yotun, and according to Jorge Ramos Isubanda, I don't know if this was a Bomba de Pereira or not, but Nicolas Ladero potentially headed to Cruz Azul as well. However, Nico Moreno, who's a reporter in Seattle, works with Spanish-language outlets in the Seattle area, he has been consistent saying that his sources are telling him that that's not happening, and he said that he would expect to know more today. So Yotun, Lodero are both linked to Cruz Azul, who is trying to bounce back from losing in the Liguilla final in Liga MX. Those are two very big reinforcements and would command, I think, very big transfer fees for Seattle and Orlando.
And then there's the rumors that Chicago's re-signing Veljko Paunovic to a 3-year deal.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. That's a whole separate issue. Let's leave that one to the side for now. And we're not going to talk about Earl Edwards right now either, because these are these are all-star type players. Veljko Paunovic is not an all-star type coach.
Nope.
This is a big deal. Yoshi Yotun would have to go for a few $1 million to Orlando. They'd have to recoup that. Ladero would probably be the same. I would expect a few million at least. that you can then put back into the club and grow things. These are two big-time players in this league that could be on the way out to one team in Mexico. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So stay tuned on these potential rumors. Yotun to Cruz Azul, Lodero to Cruz Azul, and should get more any day now.
Five Stripe Daily. Not to poke the trains with a Z too hard, but with all of these salary cap maneuvers, Chris McCann's contract really sticks out as a sore thumb. Hard to see him making over $600,000 for his role in the coming season.
Don't know what his contract number is for the coming season. That's one thing to keep in mind. It could be different. It's possible. Probably not all that likely, but it's possible. He's another center back piece. Hadn't even mentioned Chris McCann as a potential center back depth option because he looked pretty good at center back. I would probably be willing to say that might have been his best spot. You've got depth. You've got possible options here, and the thing about it, and this is where I think you always get into trouble, when you compare in an isolated way McCann's number to Parkhurst's number and say this and that's not right, and this should be this should be that. Look, if McCann's under contract and Parkhurst is not, you're talking about apples and kumquats. Like, it's just two completely different things here. Parkhurst is not going to be able to get McCann kind of money at this stage of his career. McCann got this kind of money, in 2016?
Yeah,
2.5
walking
years
the door.
ago. He got this money a while ago. Has he lived up to the contract? No. I think that's fair to say. But has he been a bust? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He's played a valuable role as this team has evolved, and he has gotten you out of a number of jams playing a variety of positions. And he would continue to do that for one more year. And he's also a great locker room guy, a great guy to have in the squad. You want guys like that in your team. Would you like to have them at a little bit better salary number to not have to use that TAM? Sure. You also have a lot of TAM to use. So I think McCann's number is not as crazy as it would have been 3 years ago because of all the TAM you have to work with. If you're using discretionary TAM to buy that down to a manageable cap number because you can, well, then you're not really hurting yourself, are you?
Also on the board, we have the host of soccer over there, Nick Leafy, who's had a busy couple of days. And Jarrett, this goes back to the whole Parkhurst discussion. He says, if you want to be, quote, end quote, the Patriots of a sport, understand what that means. The Pats consistently move vets out before they start losing a step. No remorse, just business.
Yeah. It's worked for the Patriots for a long time. It's also worked for the Patriots, by the way, that the teams in their division have consistently, blown their own hands off at the firework factory. Like, seriously, go look. Like, it's Buffalo, the Jets, and the Dolphins. They have consistently been mediocre at best for the last, decade and a half.
I thought the firework issue was in the NFC East, not the AFC East.
Well, actually, it's in the South now. Jason Pierre-Paul plays for Tampa, so that's been...
Wow. Figurative and literal.
Yeah. But yeah, you're going to, sometimes you got to make the tough decisions. And it's going to be sometimes viewed as kind of ruthless, I think. But I don't necessarily think it has to be. It's business. And, a guy like Parkhurst is a veteran in this league. He's going to know that. But he's got to look out for his business as well, as to say, I'm going to go get my last check or my last paycheck, my last big one before it really slows down or I'm done. Or I can, stay here. It depends. I'm sure they're having discussions on it. I'm still kind of blown away at the idea, and my mind is still back on, oh God, Yoshi Otun's going to leave. What the hell is Orlando going to do? Because
yeah, really,
like, there were times this year Yoshi Otun was the best player on the field, and that wasn't Yotun was bad. He was the least bad. No, he was legitimately good, except for that time in Orlando where Atlanta basically, stripped him down and burned him alive. He had some amazing games this year. So I'm going to be very interested to see how they deal with that.
Also, let's see. Four-Card Ahmed asks for his hashtag Wallpass Wednesday, why is the MLS season so long, and why do we play some teams 3 times and some 1? Why not just play each team in the East, home and away, and each team from the West 1 time? Question mark, hashtag Wallpass Wednesday.
You had to balance it. I mean, you couldn't do that and have an even number of games because you had an uneven number of teams. Going forward, that's the plan. Although then they have to make a decision on how many games they want to play. So the reason you had 3 games against Orlando this year and 3 games against DC was because you had an odd number of teams, and that was the only way you can make it work. That gets replaced with Cincinnati coming into the mix. So it's a work in progress, and it will adjust as the league continues to grow. That's just what it's down to at this point. So ideally, you play home and away against the teams in your conference, and you play the other conference once, and you rotate back and forth about when you're visiting them, and then the next year you're hosting them.
John P. comes in again and says, frankly, I'm excited about the prospect of the kind of mid-career bedrock center back you could buy for Parkey's salary, plus the allocation money and salary cleared we got for Garza. All told, that's $1 million center back if we wanted to spend that way. Lots of options.
If you wanted to spend that way and not see if Miles Robinson can be that. You know, let's go back to Miles Robinson being drafted number 2 in 2016. Miles Robinson being talked about as a potential national team center back, that kind of quality. I think we started to see that this year, especially late in the year. I think you want to see more. That's the question at this point is, do you feel like he's your guy? If he is, you got to play him. If not, then okay, you go out and get somebody, and you've got plenty of allocation money to work with.
And we are officially caught up after Jillian Gaffigan says, I get the Pats way, but MLS players aren't NFL players.
Yeah, but it doesn't affect how you have to deal with contracts. And you can't let sentimentality force you into a bad signing. And because, okay, if you sign Michael Parkhurst to a lucrative 3-year deal because you like him a lot, here are your fallout of that. Is he going to accept eventually rotating to being more of a depth piece? Is Miles Robinson going to stick around? Are you going to be able to find out what he is? How are you going to play all of these different guys? Because Escobar, Gressel, whatever you do on the right side is a huge question for me going into 2019. Is Escobar going to be a center back for you? Is he going to be a right back? Are you going to play 3 center backs? And then is he a center back? Is he a right wing back? Where do you play Julian Gressel? There's a lot of questions, and you don't want to back yourself into a corner because you really like somebody personally as a player, or you really like what they've done for you as a club. You have to always look ahead. And those center backs that I keep mentioning, Kendall Edwards played a lot of minutes with ATL UTD2 last year as a 17-year-old. George Campbell had an unlucky injury, or he would have gotten minutes there. Will Crane went to Brown as a freshman. I don't think he's going to sign a homegrown deal straight away. Bryce Washington is another one who was here for the first year of the academy. He's been a 2-year starter at Rutgers and done very, very well. You have other center backs in the pipeline that you can bring through. You don't want to create a logjam, and that's something that Carlos Bocanegra has talked about since before the team took the field. You've got to manage that depth chart effectively. You've got to create space for players to develop and work into. And a 35-year-old center back is a block on that depth chart at center back when you have Robinson, potential homegrowns, Escobar. They're all waiting in the wings for more time. So you got to make a tough decision. And that's why Carlos Bocanegra and Darren Eales and the rest of this front office get paid the big bucks, because these are the tough decisions that have a huge impact on the success of a team year after year. We'll see where it goes. We'll see if another club wants him, if Atlanta can get something for him. That would be another way to mitigate it. If you get something in return, okay, maybe you can figure something out there. But we'll see. It's going to be an interesting next couple of days, that's for sure. We're going to take a break. We'll take a break. Come back to you, Jarrett, on the other side. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Appolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Appolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Final segment, hour number 1, well past Wednesday. Everybody except for Jarrett's on the disabled list, including Ivy Board. We're trying to get it out. We're trying. Had to mute it a few times so you don't hear me blowing my nose or hacking up.
Or me. Yeah.
So we're doing our best, and we're talking Michael Parkhurst. We're talking Edgar Castillo going to New England. Here's another thing to throw into the mix when it comes to Atlanta and Pity Martinez and Miguel Almiron. Couple different things that are a little interesting that are out there. Ed Aarons of The Guardian tweeted this morning. He tweeted this, and I'll read it word for word. Told that Newcastle have yet to submit a bid for Atlanta United's Miguel Almiron, but talks are ongoing. Paraguay player is valued at £23 million. West Ham have also shown an interest. Then here's the flip side. Pity Martinez. There are some rumors that Pity might skip the Club World Cup third-place match because River lost in the semifinals yesterday. They were upset in penalties. River Plate's president, Rodolfo de Onofrio, told Fox Sports Argentina that Atlanta has an option to buy Pity Martinez through December 31st. That is the only offer on the table, and I guess they have through the end of the year to trigger it. We've had all kinds of questions and speculation about what you're going to do if you can't move Almiron and if you're going to bring in Martinez. That might be your little hint at how these things could be handled. This is coming from Dan Offrio on Fox Sports Argentina. You would expect that is legit. And, I mean, Newcastle not submitting a bid yet, that's not exactly a surprise because the transfer window doesn't open until January 1st, so they have time to do that. They're not in as big of a rush, but it's a bit of a juggling act, and I'm intrigued to see how this gets handled because I do think Miguel Almiron will get the offer that will send him to Europe. I think that's going to happen, and it sounds like Pity Martinez is the replacement, but neither are guaranteed at this point.
Nope. I mean, that's just kind of where the nature of the universe is right now. And it's the nature of really being what Atlanta United is. I mean, they're going to be a very busy club in multiple fronts in the sense that you've got, you've got incoming and outgoing business and all of it's fluid. And it's not just going to be these two guys. It's not just going to be this year. It's going to be in the future as well. This isn't some unique situation. This is going to be repeating as time goes on. just make peace with that, and the world's a happier place for you as you're watching this and watching this team unfold. Still don't think Still would put on ice the idea. I know some people have mentioned about Pitti and Miguel playing together on this team. Like you don't have enough room for this. But I mean, anything can happen about either one of them staying here and playing. But we know Miguel's never been shy about what his aspirations are, and I fully expect to see him go over there and find the right fit. Whether it be that Newcastle, be that another club who comes in and swoops in and says, hey, we'd like to discuss this. Here's our salary number. Atlanta goes, that's a fair number. Let's talk. It's so hard to predict right now because you still have time before the window opens.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of moving parts. I mean, if Newcastle or West Ham or, let's say, another club that might be at that type of level. Yeah, I mean, it could be. It could be an Arsenal. It could be. Who else is in kind of the middle of the table right now in England that could spend that kind of money?
Wolves.
That could spend that kind of money. Yeah, because you're not going to sell him for peanuts.
No. Let's see. Who is mid-table? Everton.
Everton's a prime example. So let's say Everton has an injury in central midfield between now and the transfer window opening up. You think they might not come in with a late bid? These are the things that you can't really predict. So just stay tuned. It's going to be a wild ride. And like Jarrett said, this is not going to be a one-year thing. After 2019, you're going to be potentially looking at Ezequiel Barco coming off of a U20 World Cup with Argentina where maybe he lights it up. And maybe he has a great year for Atlanta, and then he's worth a ton of money. And you move him on at the end of the 19 season. Maybe somebody comes in with a big offer for Tito Villalba at the end of 19. Maybe somebody comes in with a big offer for an Andrew Carlton at the end of 2019.
And women all over Atlanta swoon in anger.
Tito leaves. But, I mean, all these things are possible. This is the level of a club you're talking about. This is that middle ground for MLS and for Atlanta United where you can bring in young players and develop them. You can also make big signings. And you're in that mid-tier kind of conversation with England, with Spain, with Germany, with France about doing both, not just being a selling club, not just being a buying club, but doing both and doing it very responsibly and looking at that bottom line from day one. So it's going to be a fun ride. The off seasons will always have things to talk about. You're never going to be Houston where it's completely silent and boring. That's just not going to happen. Let's take a break. Let's reset for hour number 2. You guys have questions. You guys have thoughts. Tweet them at us at Soccer Down Here using the Wall Pass Wednesday hashtag. We'll be right back.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. That's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Hour number 2 of Soccer Down Here, well past Wednesday, December 19th. We're all still alive, so 1 hour down. That's
some more than others.
That's a win.
Here I sit as the Omega Man. I am legend.
Yeah, something like that. Let's talk about somebody else who it looks like will be alive in Major League Soccer in 2019. Veljko Paunovic. Rumors in Chicago that he will be signed to a 3-year deal. I'm baffled about the length of this. I'm not completely against bringing him back. I'm really not. And I know some of you who have listened to the show and know my throwing things about Chicago and silly things that they do would wonder why. But Chicago had a slew of injuries this year. And what I thought was impressive was he had that team playing for him at the end when it didn't matter. You know, the game where they came here in October, I thought they played well, and I thought they showed, a lot of heart. And I will take that as they were playing for their manager. So if he's still got the group, and he obviously has a great relationship with Schweinsteiger, and you've decided that he is your poster boy, then it makes sense. But a 3-year deal, that's the part that I'm baffled about, because this is a guy who finished next to last in the Eastern Conference this year, was the number 3 seed in 2017, but got knocked out in the knockout round, and was the worst team in the league in 2016. You can't give a coach with that type of record a 3-year deal. You can't. You can give him a 1-year deal with an option. You could maybe go a 2-year deal with an option. But a 3-year guaranteed deal? Whew. I don't see it. I don't see that. That seems a little crazy to me.
Crazy is a good word to use. Also, can we just make Chicagoing like a thing?
Yeah. Misfiring. Something like that. I look at the years and I'm going, where's my Twellman drop? I mean, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I see and I get the idea that you don't want to come back if it's only a 1. I get that.
But if you're the 3, Fire, I don't think you guarantee him more than the 1. I wouldn't.
I know. I wouldn't either.
I could potentially be persuaded into 2. And that would be really tough for me to do. 3, after an initial 3, I just... I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, you guys you've signed that paper, and that's the direction you're going to go, and the rest of us are going to sit there and watch. But I reserve the right to sit there and point my finger and or wave it in the air and or cackle appropriately if things continue to just if they just continue not to develop the way that you think it's going to under this partnership.
I mean, he won 8 games in 2018. He won 7 games in 2016. Went 16-11-7 in 2017, but then lost in the knockout round as they faded badly at the end. I honestly don't think that gets you a 3-year deal. I don't think one playoff appearance, 1 game in the postseason, and losing 4-0 to the Red Bulls at home in that game. I don't think that gets you a 3-year deal. I do agree that there have been some issues, and that's why he gets another deal. I think the injuries in 2018 give him a bit of an out, the way they bounced back as the year went on, especially when they got a little healthy. He's got a bit of an out, but that gets you 1 year, maybe 2. Maybe 2.
Yeah. But 3?
A 3-year guaranteed
That's-
deal seems crazy to me.
Yes. Nathan
do we have an air
Pugh.
horn?
Uh-oh.
What?
Do we have an air horn?
Oh, air horn? Yeah, we have an air horn. There we go. What is it?
We have dates and time for Atlanta's CONCACAF Champions League.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What do we have so I can mark it on my calendar?
Yeah, this is from a friend of the program, Doug Roberson, over at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Atlanta United will open its CONCACAF Champions League tournament at Herediano, February 21st.
Okay, so Thursday, the 21st.
The return leg will be the 28th at Fifth Third Bank Stadium.
Ah, okay.
So, nice intimate setting. Jason, make sure you take some tea with you. I don't know, maybe a 5-hour energy. The game in Costa Rica will kick off at 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Eastern time?
Eastern, I guess. I hope it's Easter.
Okay.
According to the CONCACAF website, the game at Fifth Third Bank will kick off at 8 p.m.
Where's Costa Rica in terms of time zone?
Efforting.
Yeah, but
it is in the
so it looks
central
like,
time zone. So
it's like 9 o'clock start?
It's still a 9 o'clock local time kick.
Yeah, that's going to only require some stretching and some late napping. Make sure y'all get a siesta in.
Yeah, a little bit.
But that looks like they will be at Fifth Third Bank Stadium for the return leg, Atlanta United and Herediano.
I like it.
So they're only an hour behind us.
Yeah.
I like it. It's 2 games are going to be in stadiums of similar size, and this is an opportunity when you get these kind of games and you get a chance to see Atlanta United in an intimate venue. That's pretty cool. This is one that would be a question on, what would it draw at Mercedes-Benz? Because it's not a Mexican team. It's a Costa Rican team. And the Costa Rican population in the Southeast, and especially the Herediano fan base in the Southeast, is not that big. If it was Saprissa, maybe you're thinking about the Benz. Herediano, You're not. If you get through and you do face Monterrey in the next round, that's absolutely at the Benz, and it'll be packed out.
We're opening up 70,000 for the Benz.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And part of me, in the name of hubris, would want to put them in the Benz just to see how Herediano would react to it, and just, if for nothing else, to see, and to talk to them after the game about, what was your thought about playing in that cathedral? But at the same time, this is going to be an intimate setting. It's going to be very interesting and fun. With the news of Atlanta United 2 playing there as well, man, it seems like you get a really nice, cozy relationship with Fifth Third Bank Stadium and Kennesaw State and Atlanta United now. And it's been a fun venue that fits. And that hybrid surface has held up well, and everyone seems happy. So everybody seems happy, and that's what's matters.
Atlanta United gets to cash out at the ATM.
When did the hybrid surface go down, Jarrett? Did it go down like middle of last year?
I think so. I think that was one of the reasons you didn't have you were still playing a Coolray Field last year. I mean, aside from the fact that you can't schedule that soon because the twos came online so quickly, I think the surface also helped make that decision easier for 2018.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So, yeah, you'll be in good shape, and that'll be the kickoff to Atlanta United action at Fifth Third Bank.
And so let's see. I'm trying to see what else was going on here in the timeline. There was one thing talking about Chivas and River. Here we go. Nathan Pugh. Chivas and River going down on penalties is a clear result of one-off games not producing the quote-unquote better team as the winner. I think Atlanta winning this year eases the tension of the potential crapshoot moving forward. Do you agree? Hashtag Walk Past Wednesday.
What do you think, Jarrett?
I'm always going to be a proponent for 2-leg finals and playoffs at this point.
Yeah,
so,
I am too.
I mean, that's just even like a championship. I'm just here for that right at this point in my existence. So, penalties are always stressful, and I will always argue penalties are a blast when my team's not at them. Watching other people get stressed out, I'm fine with that. But the shoe always ends up on your foot, and it's stressful and chaotic, and it's always going to be aggravating. If you win, it's euphoric, and if you lose, you're just, beating your head against the wall until the wall gives up first.
When you talk about Chivas and River losing on penalties in the Club World Cup, I would love to see the Club World Cup grow to a 8-team group stage winners play. I would do it where you get 3 games, you get your European team in as a seed in Group A, your South American team as the top seed in Group B, you do a draw for everybody else. You play 3 games, and your group winners face off in the final. Then it's a little more even than the way it works right now, because if you make a run like an Al Ain, you've played how many games in a short period of time, and you're going to be going up against Real Madrid, who would have played 1 game? I mean, it's set up so much for the big boys, which I do understand, but I think now you're starting to see that, and this is something that's coming out of the South American media, the gap between South America and Africa and Asia is not as wide as it used to be. It's not a foregone conclusion that it is the Libertadores winner and the UEFA Champions League winner in the Club World Cup final. That doesn't happen every time anymore. So I'd love to see a group stage. And if you want to expand it further than that, okay, fine. If you can find the way in the calendar to do it, and I know there's been talk about it, with taking that to MLS playoffs, it's 2 different scenarios. So, I mean, you're just looking at it completely differently. But, yeah, you run into a situation where penalties, it's a total crapshoot. I would look back at the knockout round game against Columbus. Atlanta was the better team in that match. I don't think there's really much of a question about it. But you lost without conceding a goal, and your season was over. That kind of stinks. But that's the direction you're going in. So it's a lot of drama. It's going to be a lot of drama, but you're also going to get some upset wins that are kind of, leaving you scratching your head.
Derek Creighton with a question. He says, if Atlanta wins the CONCACAF Champions League, the FIFA tournament is in the middle of the offseason. Will MLS let Atlanta keep their roster?
Yeah. I mean, that wouldn't have anything to do with it, because most contracts are through the calendar year. So, your contract doesn't generally end at the end of the final game. Like Matt Polster, for example. Matt Polster is under contract through December 31st with Chicago, but they have not picked up his option. He will be out of contract on January 1st. That's pretty common. So, yeah, MLS is not going to do something to make it harder for Atlanta United to play well in the Club World Cup for the first time ever. So, yeah, that's definitely not going to happen. I could see rules being bent the other way to make it easier for Atlanta to compete.
Archie Eversole on Twitter this morning.
The real Archie Eversole?
Says, the real Archie Eversole says,
what up, Archie?
I'll miss him. Had a good chat at the club after the parade, in all caps. No, not Magic City. Laughing emoji. At MF Parkhurst, do what's best for you, brother. Then back into all caps. But they don't rock like we do in any of those cities. Hashtag Atlanta United. Hashtag we the best. Linking to Taylor Twellman's tweet.
That's true. I don't think Toronto, New York City, you could have an argument. I will argue in Atlanta's favor every time.
Bridgeview doesn't.
Chicago. Bridgeview does not rock like anything. So Bridgeview doesn't rock like Marietta. No offense to my Marietta listeners, but it doesn't. Yeah, it's the tough situation when you're in here, because you become emotionally attached to these players who've given you a lot of joy, a lot of just you love watching these guys play. I mean, Parkhurst lifting the trophy was one of the highlights of the year for me, because I knew how much it meant to him, and I knew how much he sacrificed for it. I mean, people wrote him off after 2016 in Columbus. People said Atlanta was stupid for making that signing, and they were 100% wrong. So for him to get that opportunity and to get that vindication, it meant everything to him. But now it's a different situation. I mean, if he can go make that money, you go make that money. And Atlanta can't feel obligated to just give him money because he's a good guy. That's the problem you don't want to get into. That's what bad clubs do, is they sign guys because they like them and they feel obligated to do it. Good clubs can't do that.
And then Tyler Rice with the last question here in this segment. He says, have you heard the TSS interview with Ian Barker about U.S. soccer coaching? So it was very interesting and brought up points that you, Jason, have made before about not enough being done to produce quality coaches here. Also, that coaches are not keeping up with player development.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the coaches are not keeping up. I'd say the coaches' development's not keeping up with players' development, because I think the coaches want to. I think it's just there's not enough resources put into coaching education, and specifically in underserved areas. Like, yeah, it's easy if you're at a top club or you're at an MLS academy and you have the money to work with to go get your A license. If you are at a club in Albany, Georgia, it's not exactly easy to do, because you're going to have to fly to a major city, probably Kansas City or wherever they're going to do the A license, and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars, and you might not be able to do that. So you're going to be left out of that development cycle that other coaches can get into. It's the same with referees. The players have improved on their own to a point that is past what your average coach, the baseline, can give them, and your average referees can do in managing a game. There are your exceptions, absolutely, but the U.S. Soccer Federation has to invest more in development of coaches and referees to really get to the next level for where soccer can be. The player development's nowhere near as bad as people want to paint it out to be. I have more of an issue with the coaching and referee development. But I need to check out that interview. I'm looking forward to checking that out. Thanks for the heads up. Let's take a quick break. Come back. More Wall Pass Wednesday after this.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
Living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
Had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Appolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Appolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, December 19th edition. Wall Pass Wednesday, so we're taking your questions, your comments throughout the show. Be like Archie Eversole and join us and share your thoughts on Michael Parkhurst, on CONCACAF Champions League, on trades around the league. Whatever you want to get into, we will take it on a Wall Pass Wednesday. We do have some breaking news. It's big-time breaking news, too. Massive. Huge. Orlando City has made 2 signings. Greg Ranjit-Singh and Kyle Smith from Louisville City.
JOC.
Really moves the needle. James O'Connor worked with these guys during his time at Louisville City. Louisville looks like they're turning over a lot of their roster. But again, is Orlando going to get a whole lot better by signing USL guys that O'Connor's worked with? Is that going to move the needle? Is that going to turn the tide for the Lions? I don't know. Ranjit Singh is a player who has played with Trinidad and Tobago's national team. He's got shutouts in the last 2 USL Cup matches to give Louisville championships. He was a 4-year starter at Mercer, so got some local ties there. Kyle Smith, 26 years old. He's played 95 matches for Louisville City. A ton of minutes, one of their most important players. He played college at Transylvania University. He's from Cincinnati originally. Right now you're looking at Ranjit Singh as your starting goalkeeper and Kyle Smith potentially as a starting outside back. It's a big jump. You have to cross your fingers on that one.
Yeah, but when you mentioned those needle movers, I really, for Orlando City, I think, aren't you just looking for some kind of stability? And I'll put that word in quotes.
Ask their fans what they're looking for, because I don't think that's what they're looking for. That's the problem. Is you needed to go for stability in 2016. You have declined every year from 2015 to 2018. You have gotten worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
You're beyond just trying to go sign some USL guys for stability. I don't know. Here's another bit of news. This will get an air horn. And thanks to our buddy Mark Fishkin up in New York for pointing this out. CONCACAF Champions League matches will be available in the United States via Yahoo Sports. Fans will be able to follow all the action through the Confederation's partner networks, including Univision Deportes, Yahoo Sports. That's in the United States. There's other partners in other parts of the CONCACAF territory. But that's how you can watch Yahoo or Univision Deportes.
Yeah, because I was watching a lot on Univision Deportes and UDN. That's where I kind of camped out. I'm that guy who watched the CONCACAF League to figure out who would qualify for Champions League. I was that guy watching those double headers on UDN. I was locked in on my super hyper mega cable sports package.
Man, let's hit another air horn too. We got more.
Wow, hit it.
Ottawa Fury FC on Twitter, they have posted an update to their sanctioning issues, and this went much further than I expected it to go. Fury FC has announced that it is seeking urgent relief from the Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS, in respect of sanctioning for its participation in the USL Championship level professional soccer in 2019. This is getting a lot uglier than it should be. For me, your solution is Ottawa, you're going to be in 2019 in USL because it's too far down the road. Play that season, and then you're joining the Canadian Premier League in 2020 because you have to. That's the solution here. And people need to find a way to get over themselves to do that. And I hope they can, because this is not good for the Canadian Premier League, who's trying to get a start. This is not good for Ottawa, who has built up a quality program. It's not good all the way around. At this stage, if CONCACAF was going to pull this and say, no, you have to play in the Canadian Premier League, why didn't they do it over the summer? Why didn't they do it at the beginning of the announcements of the Canadian Premier League? Why did they wait till now? That's a bad look by CONCACAF. So get it resolved, people. Get it resolved for the good of the game. It's not going to help the Canadian Premier League to force them in at this point. It's not going to help USL to force a team out at this point. It's not going to help Ottawa. It's not going to help anybody. Play the 2019 season the way it is currently scheduled, and then move on to the Canadian Premier League in 2020.
And, I love the idea of seeking immediate relief from the Court of Arbitration for Sport. But, a lot of times, folks, whether you win or lose, when you do something to CAS, it just ends up being something on paper, and it ends up being longer legally a longer legal fight than anything else. In the times that I've had to do stories in the past where Cass is involved, the side that ends up losing, and I'll put that in quotes, you have a winner and a loser in the court of arbitration for sport, but the loser basically sits there and just tries to continue to gum up the works and doesn't really treat the Cass verdict with any kind of credence. And so it gets muddier 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, but I think this is a little different if they're appealing for urgent relief. I think everybody knows the timeline and what it looks like. So hopefully they can get something done quickly or come to a resolution. This could be a bluff to try to force a resolution outside of Cass. Hopefully it is, because none of this is helping anybody involved.
Nope. At Chris C. Rob, going back and forth with Tafka, he says, I agree if we can get similar levels out of Parkey for 2 years, but a 2-year deal that prevents bringing in an upgrade is problematic unless Miles is 100% the next center back. He will slow down eventually. Then B, if they're upgrading at center back for Champions League, I'm about it.
A 2-year deal, you can't expect Parkhurst to be at the same level in 2020 than he has been in 2018. You just can't at his age. And that's not smart in limiting Miles's participation over that run, because you need to find out what you have in Miles Robinson. I think you have a gem. I think you have a guy who can do everything you want to do as a center back. He can play with the ball at his feet. He can play in a 3-man back line. He can play in a 2-man back line. He's dangerous on set pieces. He's athletic. He can run. I mean, he gives you everything you want out of a center back. So I think you need to see what you got in Miles Robinson, and you don't want to do anything to block that.
And Rachel, in discussing the goalkeeping situation in Orlando, says anything would be better than Bendick, who was awful last year.
Yeah, he wasn't awful before that, but last year I think he just lost his confidence completely. I mean, Ranjit Singh is a guy that we saw in USL who he's a good goalkeeper. Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
But I don't know if you can really sell that you're upgrading your team and you're going to be different off the back of 2 signings from the USL champs. I just don't know if that changes things in Orlando.
Joe Bendick was basically in a firing range for the last 3+ years at this point. 2 of those years, he's the reason they didn't give up the most goals in the league. And last year, it just didn't happen. And then Joseph fathered him.
Couple of comments now that CONCACAF Champions League dates and locations have been announced. First from Tyler Rice. I understand playing at 5th, 3rd for the first round of CONCACAF Champions League, but I think the lower bowl would easily be filled at the Benz no matter who Atlanta was playing. It'll be the first competitive match since MLS Cup, and people will be pumped to finally see Atlanta play again.
I tend to think, I tend to agree. I do, but I think you have some scheduling issues as well with don't you have Monster Jam and Supercross, like not quite back-to-back, but closely back-to-back?
I thought that was the problem, yeah.
Yeah, it's that week and the other. I mean, these things happen. This is the life when you have a multi-use stadium that is going to be booked heavily, and you didn't know what your dates were going to be. You didn't know how that was going to play out. So that's why you create a relationship with Kennesaw State. That's why you have that as a backup plan. So I agree. I would have loved to have seen it at Mercedes-Benz, and I think they would have drawn 45 pretty comfortably. I don't think it would have been too difficult to get there, but this, it gives you a kind of a special opportunity to see the team in a smaller venue. So I don't think it's a horrible thing. I know some people are saying that. I don't think it's a horrible thing, to be honest, but I get it. It's gonna make tickets harder to get. That's for sure.
And then HEOUTD fan number 1 says, I think it's a big missed opportunity not to go back to #BDS for the CONCACAF Champions League match on the 28th.
It's not even a possibility. That's the easy thing. If you just look at it on paper, you say, go to Bobby Dodd. You would have to spend upwards of $2-3 million to get Bobby Dodd playable, because you'd have to widen the field. You'd probably have to bring in new turf. Georgia Tech would probably say, what else are you going to do for us? I mean, they had to replace the locker rooms and do all kinds of stuff to use Bobby Dodd when they did. I don't know if you could pull that off. I really don't. Like, as is, you can't play at Bobby Dodd. It's too narrow.
And the Swixter is mentioning the idea of tickets selling out fast for life at the ATM because of the 8,000 that will be available there.
Oh yeah, no, it'll sell out. I mean, your season ticket holders are going to snatch those up immediately.
He says he's going to be hitting Control plus R a lot on my email promotions tab for the pre-sale info. And yes, Monster Jam and Supercross are booked in the same timetable of Champions League.
Champions League and the first week of the MLS season. I mean, it happens. You know, I mean, one of the reasons United can do what it does is because of those other events in the stadium. You know, that does pay off things for Atlanta United. It gave Arthur Blank the money to be able to do the things that he's done. You know, it is a whole package.
And these are things that are planned out a year in advance. Yeah. I mean, this is stuff that's way the heck in advance figured out. And then all of a sudden you have this wonderful surprise gift that pops up, and then you have to figure out what to do with it because you can't slide in. So, you know, these legacy events that are always there, this is stuff that's plotted nine months to a year out. So then you just have to, you know, work your other relationships. And so this go around for Champions League, it is going to be very important for the fire marshal up in Kennesaw to make sure that everybody who wants to see it can see it.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
So I'm assuming super value tickets for Atlanta United will not just be $10.
No. No.
Chandler Creel says the most important question about Champions League: does Fifth Third sell beer?
Yeah, they do. They have for Atlanta United matches.
Mm-hmm. They have for other festivities up there because Fifth Third Bank gets used like a rented mule. It's not just soccer and lacrosse and football up there. They do a lot at that stadium, a lot of events. I've been to plenty of events where they've sold, so you're fine.
It's all good. So I'm trying to see what else is going on, but everybody else is checking in and making sure that they will be getting their Control plus R for the promotions tab on the pre-sale info. So I think a lot of folks are excited about that. Just
cool.
A bit.
Well, we'll let everybody plan up for how to get your tickets. All of the different methods you're going to have to use. SeatGiant.com might come in handy. Use the SDH code if you're trying to get them on the secondary market. We're going to take a break, come back, more Wall Pass Wednesday after this.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. That's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Appolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Appolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, December 19th. Wall Pass Wednesday. We have the dates and times and locations for Atlanta United in CONCACAF Champions League. And that's got people riled up a little bit this morning. Monster Jam. I think Monster Jam is the one that's knocking Atlanta out of Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the home leg. And I think it's Supercross that's knocking them out for the first week of the MLS season, where it looks like Atlanta will be in D.C. These things happen. And I know you look at it and you're like, why not just go back to Bobby Dodd? One, the field is too narrow as it currently stands. So you would have to spend a lot of money to widen the field, as they did for games there in 2017. Georgia Tech would probably say, oh, yeah, okay, sure, we'll do that, but you have to spend X, Y, and Z. You have to replace the field when you're done. You have to, I don't know, they did locker rooms last time. Maybe they have to build weight rooms or something next time. I mean, Georgia Tech owns it. So just to say, oh, yeah, just do it, there's a cost. There's a huge cost. And then I feel like we're flashing back to 2016 when we were talking about potential venues as Mercedes-Benz was getting finished. Turner Field, SunTrust Park. I mean, are any of those possibilities? Probably not very likely.
Five Stripe Daily says, obviously, we just need to combine the CONCACAF Champions League and Supercross for a Rocket League-style playoff game.
No. I would vote no.
That would be fun. I don't think monster trucks have really good suspensions and shocks. I don't think they'll be able to handle what you do in Rocket League. I think this is one of those times where you're not going to be able to replicate a video game in real life. I know that doesn't happen often.
Nathan Pugh says he wanted to know if there was any word on preseason matches. I'd guess any home matches would be at Fifth Third. Also heard something about a California tour against the Liga MX team. Any truth to that?
Never heard anything about a California tour against the Liga MX team. It wouldn't shock me because it'd be good competition, but haven't heard anything about it. Don't know. I mean, generally they haven't played home games in preseason. They've played away. You know, they played in Chattanooga, they played in Nashville, they played in Carolina Challenge Cup. You know, there's a lot of teams that are launching up this year. So you could see games in Birmingham or Statesboro or Greenville or Memphis or, you know, Chattanooga or wherever. Those are all possibilities. So wouldn't surprise me to see, you know, a trip to one of those. Maybe at Fifth Third. It might be good prep for the CONCACAF Champions League. It could be for sure. So maybe that happens this time around, but haven't heard anything specifically yet.
Staff meteorologist Mike Conti says he would imagine playing outdoors in late February would constitute a pretty nice home stadium advantage for Atlanta United against a team that plays and trains in Costa Rica.
Yeah, I just remember Harbor View playing DC United at the Soccerplex in Maryland, and it was freezing cold, and Harborview went to Dick's Sporting Goods or Academy or wherever the closest sporting goods store was and bought like every long-sleeved and long underwear garment they could find to be able to play in that. And they looked a little cold as they were playing. So maybe that comes into play here.
We haven't talked about Los Angeles yet.
About the Galaxy?
Yeah, about the LAG. Yes. Yeah. LAG with what happened with them yesterday.
I mean, Zlatan Ibrahimovic is coming back. It's no surprise. We talked about the videos that had been put out there, and we said that if he was coming back, he'd have to be on a designated player deal because he wasn't coming back for $1.5 million. So he's on a DP deal, and now they have to figure out how to make that work because they have 3 designated players, and Alessandrini and both of the Dos Santos brothers. One of them's got to go. One of them's got to be bought out. One of them's got to be sold or traded or something or loaned or I don't know. So it's an interesting time for the Galaxy who don't have a manager and don't know really what they're going to do because that's the difference here. You know, Atlanta United is not going to look dramatically different no matter who they hire as manager. The LA Galaxy, I don't know what they look like, period. I don't know what the LA Galaxy are anymore. So you need to get a manager in to figure out what your team's going to look like. Are you going to play 2 up top? Are you going to play Ibrahimovic and Kamara up top? Are you going to throw Kamara out wide again? Are you going to try to move him? Alessandrini's probably the player that you could move the easiest. Could see him going to Montreal or somewhere like that. So You got to figure things out. But this was the only way you were getting Zlatan to come back. You were going to have to give him more money. He wasn't going to come back for 1.5 after the year he had.
And then what they gave $75,000 in GAM for the right of first refusal to sign from signing Juninho to Chicago.
Yeah, it's not a huge deal. Juninho, is coming off of an injury. Chicago didn't bring him back, but they kept his rights in the league after the 2017 season. So it sounds like the Galaxy are going to sign him. They had to give Chicago a little bit of GAM to get to him. I don't think it really moves the needle. I don't think Juninho at this stage is going to be changing anything dramatically for the Galaxy moving forward.
Checking the timeline and seeing what else is right. And Rachel then going back and forth with Mike says, you could open the Benz roof to make it cold.
Well, yeah, but then you have monster trucks flying by. So, yeah.
What else is going on in your brain this morning other than trying to detach your nose?
Yeah, that's pretty much the biggest thing. We have an update on Yoshi Yotun after the record and Carlos Ponce report. Jordan, friend of the show in Orlando, says he posted this on Pro Soccer USA. A club source confirmed Orlando City SC received a proposal from Cruz Azul via Yotun and his agent. The source added the club is negotiating with Yotun, offering him options to stay in Orlando, and has, quote, no intention of selling him at this time. So he was signed as a DP in 2017 in the summer. He's under contract for 2019. If there's an offer on the table from Cruz Azul, I would assume part of that offer is a good chunk of money for Yotun. If Orlando wants to keep him, they're going to have to pay up. And I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it.
Okay. Full disclosure. This is random, completely and totally random thought.
Uh-oh.
This morning on the Super Hyper Mega Cable package that I have, they showed Jeff Lynn's ELO Wembley or Bust from 2017. And full disclosure, I have tickets. The boss got me tickets for one of the concerts for the new tour in the spring down in Florida, at where the Florida Panthers play, because no one goes there to see anything. So it was easy to get tickets. What's the one group that is still on your list that you have yet to see that you would pretty much drop everything and go get wherever they're playing? If you could drop everything and go see one particular group, what would it be?
I don't have one. I've seen everybody that I can see on my list. The two that were on my list for a long time that I can't see are Nirvana and Prince. So outside of that, I saw all of my high school, college favorites multiple times. There's not one that's out there that I would drop everything to go see at this point. There isn't. I've seen everybody that I needed to see outside of those two.
Jarrett?
I don't know. I didn't go see Elton when he was here a couple weeks ago. I wanted to. It just didn't work out. That'd have probably been one of them. I'd be interested in seeing ELO. I'm in the similar boat that I can't go see Lil Feet unless we get into some necromancy and bring back Lowell George. So that's not going to fly.
Paul Barrere still still has a couple of members of the band, and they still tour. And I think that the boss wanted to go see Little Feat this year too.
Yeah, I mean, we got family stories about Joe Cocker too that are fun. So that'd have been a fun one. It involves Joe Cocker stumbling around backstage and security trying to throw him out because they thought he was a homeless guy who just wandered in backstage. And some other musician had to tell security, no, that's Joe. He's fine here. He stumbled out on stage and just flipped a switch and played a set because he was Joe Cocker.
Wow, that's pretty strong. For me, it would have been Rush, but obviously they're done, so I can't go see them anymore. And I still have a ticket from their last U.S. show from Irvine Meadows. It was like they had two separate dates in Los Angeles, one at the Forum and one at Irvine Meadows. And I have an Irvine Meadows ticket that I could not take advantage of that particular year, so I still have it in my stacks. But yeah, Rush would have been it for me. In dire straits if they ever get back together.
If for some reason REM did a reunion show, yeah, I would probably have to be there.
Mike Mills had a birthday yesterday, didn't he?
A couple days ago, yeah.
And you stare at that number and you go, there's no way that he's 61.
We're old, dude.
Just speak for yourself, sir.
Okay.
I'm 407 years old. Granted. Oh, Chandler Creel says, my wife and I paid way too much for George Strait after missing his farewell tour a few years ago.
That'd be a good one. Yeah, I would be tempted on that one. That's definitely true. It's not one I would drop everything to go see, but yeah, if the opportunity came up, then yes, I would make my way to that one.
If someone gave you tickets and you were available to go.
Yeah, oh for sure. That's a no-brainer. If I had free tickets and I could go, yeah, absolutely.
Well, as somebody who went to Garth Brooks' last show at the Omni, I mean, if someone gets you a chance to go see Mr. Gaines, he puts on a fun show.
It's a good show. I saw him at Phillips a few years ago. Definitely a good show.
As Gaines or as Garth?
Oh, as
the
Garth.
Gaines thing didn't really last very long, so yeah.
No. I don't know if he did Gaines long enough to tour more than once.
I don't think he toured on it. It was a good
I
record.
think Hootie and the Blowfish are touring again.
Yes, next year.
They are.
So you like the Chris Gaines album?
It's a good record.
Okay.
I mean, what the hell is Hootie going to do? Tour with Natalie Merchant or something? Like, how 90s do you want to get this?
Ooh. Yeah, you could go there. You could go Sarah McLachlan.
Natalie Imbruglia?
No,
they'll go way
that's
90s.
Different styles.
Yeah,
They'll come up with somebody that Blues Traveler.
Yeah, I think they've actually toured together before. I think you would probably do like Hootie and the Blowfish, Tonic, and Sponge or something.
Creed?
As a no, that's not even the same thing, John. No.
Had Dolores not died, Cranberries would have been interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say Cranberries.
Great live band. Saw them at
Dido?
the Masquerade Music Park back in the day. No, Dido's 2000s. Dido's not even close.
Trying to think of who else would be in that 90s run. But
Very early Matchbox 20, but it'd have to be like first few albums.
Yeah, no, their early stuff was good. They come back up with a new song every once in a while that I'm like, okay. Now, yeah, you could do the mega bill, which would fill up all the amphitheaters around the country for a summer of Hootie and the Blowfish, Matchbox 20, and Train. And you would just
Train, there you go.
Train's a little bit later, but yeah, you would light it up with Cash if you did that one. That would be the 90s soft alt rock spectacular.
Everybody would be just swaying and swooning in the grass seats at amphitheaters all around the country.
Yes, absolutely. Let's take a break. Let's take our final break and come back and wrap everything up after this.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
Living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
Had to be independent and take initiative, and that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Appolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Appolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Final segment, Soccer Down Here, well past Wednesday, December 19th edition. Some interesting news. It's been kind of one of those air horn sort of days. Here's another one. From Forbes magazine this morning, Chris Smith, who covers the business of sports, FC Cincinnati is selling an ownership stake to help fund the stadium and training facility. So I don't think it's a situation where like they're hurting, but it seems like it's a situation where they're looking at it and they're like, you know what? We can go to another level if we have a little more capital to work with. Couple bits from the article to keep in mind here. Early financial success has followed the team as they've made their move to MLS. $1.6 million in merchandise sales during its 2016 debut season, nearly 3 times what their expectations were. Now the club expects to more than triple its sponsorship income from $3 million to $10 million heading into MLS. They talked about the ticket demand, how they increased the seating capacity at the new stadium to 26,500. Season ticket sales are already closing in on 20,000. The final installment of their expansion fee of $150 million is expected to be paid in the near future, and player costs are quickly accelerating as the team fleshes out its roster. So far, the club has already committed more than $1 million in allocation money, and Birding says it's likely they'll sign another designated player before next season. So, and then all that on top of the $250 million stadium that they're building, the $30 million training facility that they're building. There's a lot of money being spent in Cincinnati. So to get somebody else to help pay some bills, probably a smart move and probably a good opportunity to do it.
Yeah, and I'm fairly confident that there would be individuals who would want to dive in to be a part of something from the ground up like that. And I'd love to see when this list of individuals or tire kickers comes out. I want to see what part of the fabric of Cincinnati these individuals are. And so, it's almost... For me, it's almost like looking at it like an IPO and seeing who wants to jump in at something at the ground level. I think it's a unique opportunity, and I think that, and I want to see how it develops. I think this is it made perfect sense for FCC to do something like this.
Yeah, they say most, if not all, of the capital raised from a minority stake sale would go towards construction costs. They had the idea of this from day one. This is not like something that they're freaking out and like, oh, we didn't plan for this. They did. They hired Rain Group, RAINE. They've previously been part of other MLS transactions, including the DC United sale that went down last year and the expansion deals for NYC and the upcoming team in Miami. So somebody that understands the league and the costs and all that pretty straight away. Jeff Birding says this, which I think is an important statement about where FC Cincinnati wants to be. He says, it's an opportunity to be a part of arguably the most popular team in the market. And you're talking about a market that has the Cincinnati Bengals and it has the Cincinnati Reds, who have played there since 1876. But FC Cincinnati has an opportunity to be that team in that market, and I think have a similar type of effect as to what Atlanta United's had on Atlanta.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Bengals, they're okay.
Bad.
You look at the Reds, and they're frustrating as hell.
Bad.
And, yeah, so why not jump at something that's right at the forefront of everything? Hop on something while it's hot. and be right there at the front of the line. I see absolutely zero issues with this. This is like check, check, and check.
Yeah, it makes total sense. So Cincinnati's trying to add some capital to their construction projects and sell a minority stake in the team. Makes a lot of sense to do it with all of the talk about the valuations of MLS teams. And, I mean, FC Cincinnati is spending $150 million to come into the league and about $280 million on construction projects. That's a lot of equity straight away. So
yeah,
you'd be buying into something that would have a lot of value straight away.
Yeah, and so that's 430 plus players, plus all of the other ancillary value that you're getting from being a part of the footprint. So no, it's like I said, check, check, and check. This would be, if something like that were available, hop on it and go.
Yeah, you got to jump on it and take it. What else do we have on the Twitter timeline? Anything else?
We're caught up.
Wow. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. So, all right. So who is along the lines of my random comment from the last segment?
Okay.
All right. So who is is it safe to say REM is your favorite group, or do you have a Mount Rushmore and you don't have a favorite?
I mean, REM is my favorite, but I do have a Mount Rushmore, and it would be 3. It'd be REM, The Cure, and Outkast, which is kind of bizarre, but yes, that's me.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Jarrett, what's your Mount Rushmore?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know. I have to think about this.
Okay, so then when it comes to your Mount Rushmore, so this is my setup. So when it comes to your Mount Rushmore, Jason, what is the one aspect of those 3 groups that you have to fight people over the most?
That The Cure's a goth band. I don't have to fight anybody about Outkast, because if you don't recognize the brilliance of Outkast, you're not worth fighting with. And REM, I don't think people know like their 80s history that well. I think people think of REM and think of Losing My Religion or Monster or that era, and don't know about the first decade or the last decade. And some of my favorite songs are in those 2 eras. So,
yeah, for me, it's Eponymous, Murmur.
Well, Eponymous is the greatest hits. That doesn't count. You can't put a greatest hits as one of your favorite records.
Fine, Murmur then. For me it was, and I actually, one of my favorite REM tunes was Swan Swan Hummingbird.
Yeah, Life's Rich Pageant.
Yeah. So, and then of course you get into Driver 8 and things like that, but no, for me, Swan Swan H was one of my favorite songs coming up.
Find the River is my all-time favorite song by them, and it probably always will be, from Automatic for the People.
Understood.
I'll put the final 3 song, the conclusion of Automatic for the People, up against the conclusion of any record ever, and say that Man on the Moon, Night Swimming, and Find the River is the greatest final 3 songs on an album of all time.
Okay.
Murmur's one of my favorites. Green was the first one that I heard REM when I was really young and didn't completely get it yet. I love Up, the first album they did without Bill Berry, which is just kind of weird because they're trying to figure out who they are without their drummer, and it's a whole different sound, and it's awkward and strange, but there's some great stuff on there. Walk Unafraid is one of their all-time greatest. And then Accelerate, their next to last album, was an outstanding record, and some of the songs on their final record blew me away. So they were just a band for me that was able to constantly reinvent itself without losing who they were. And that's something that's really hard to do for bands. Like, you can't keep doing the same record over and over again. You can't keep, if you're a sports team, you can't keep just putting the same thing on the field year after year after year after year. You have to evolve, but you also have to stay true to yourself. And that's something that I thought REM did really, really well as a band, and that's why they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all that.
Bad Day for me was one that flies below the radar for REM.
Oh, that was one that was a throwaway track from 1986 that they brought back for a greatest hits that they re-recorded in like 2003. I mean, I had known that one for years before it ended up on that greatest hits because I was that REM fan that knew all the B-sides and demos and stuff that didn't make albums and all of that. So Bad Day was one I was like, oh, okay, that's something they're bringing back. They did that tour in 2003 on that greatest hits record. They played a song, Permanent Vacation, that they hadn't played since playing in small clubs in Athens. It never made an album. They brought that back out of the mothballs, so that was kind of cool. They were really good about doing that stuff that was new and moving the thing forward, but also would throw out those chestnuts for longtime fans. And I wasn't as long time of a fan as a lot of people that were there because I was just growing up as they were becoming big. I discovered them, of course, like when I was a kid. Stand was a massive hit, and Pop Song 89 in that era of Green. And then Losing My Religion was one of the biggest pop songs of all time. But it was Automatic for the People that really hooked me as an REM fan.
Jared, have you had time to process your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Probably centers around, if we're going 3 for music, it's probably Larry and His Flask. It's a band out of Oregon that does kind of a thrash grass. It's the only thing I could call it. Fun band, one of the best live shows I've ever seen in my life. Probably Against Me, still one of the better live shows I've seen. And Coheed and Cambria. And that's the one I generally have to fight people on, mostly because Claudio Sanchez's voice is right up there with Geddy Lee in terms of being incredibly polarizing.
Yeah, you hate it.
Yeah. It's high-pitched. It's very much music centered around an overarching story that gets really complex and really weird really quickly, but it's still there.
Yeah. For me, it's Rush, Dire Straits, Tragically Hip.
I'm fine with Tragically Hip. Let's go there. You want to play 100th Meridian, I'm here for it.
I'm right there with you.
I implored Oren next time Atlanta plays Toronto.
There you go.
I need to hear 50 Mission Cap.
Oh, there you go.
Well, we haven't beaten Toronto, so we haven't had a chance to play Toronto music.
That's true. Play Will Go Too.
It's only after wins.
Yeah. And Darkest One. That's a show, guys.
That's a show. I'm going to go blow my nose for about 4 hours straight. I might or might not be on stoppage time. It depends on if I'm able to sit upright for an hour. So if I'm not, Jimmy Vance and Mike Conti will take care of you, and Mena as well. I will hopefully be able to speak with you guys tomorrow morning, depending on how my nose and throat and head and all of it, if it turns inside out or not. I hope to be here in the morning. I can't make any guarantees, though.
Yeah, Ivy's right there with you, brother.
Yeah.
We all are.
Ugh. All
She's
right.
on the struggle bus, too.
Yeah. Mucho platiel.
Mucho platiel.
Mucho platiel.